So you guys remember that Me Too hashtag that was like flooding social media a couple weekends ago? Funny enough, I wrote this script before I saw that for the first time. So, good timing, I guess? The pizza place was different from 4 o'clock comes and shift change is. So, anyway. So, this is gonna sound hypocritical of me to be. When I started my shift, one of the keep doing it in like 3 years, and most of the I do read them and I will reply. Yeah, if you like this, yeah. How many times am I gonna have to do my outro? I gotta stop making weird faces. Good morning, roses. Or afternoon, depending on when I actually get around to uploading this. Alright guys, so first things first, I'm a little sick, so sorry if I like cough up a lung. I'll try to edit them all out. Also, my brother stole my good microphone, so I'm going to be using this little clip-on mic, so sorry if the sound quality isn't as good as usual. Today, we're going to be talking about work, specifically my last job and I had to put up with there. Like I said, I'm sick. Sorry. I never went to university or college, so since my first job in high school, I've been working at a lot of minimum wage places. Most of them were great. Most of them were pizza places, including my last job. The pizza place part, not the great part. It wasn't that great. I worked at a small locally owned pizza place. Now, up until this job, most of the places that I'd worked had been with staff members around my age, and they were all relatively easy to get along with. When I first moved back to Newfoundland, I desperately wanted to avoid fast food, but most of my experience is with pizza, and I already had an apartment lined up, so I needed something fast. So I bit the bullet, and I handed in my resume to this place and got the job. The pizza place was different from my other work experience in that they hired for 2 separate jobs, the cashiers and the kitchen staff. Whereas everywhere else that I'd worked had kind of been people doing a little bit of everything. And that's fine, but after being hired, I found out I was going to be the first girl to work the kitchen in 3 years, and the majority of the kitchen staff were males aged 30 and up. You see where this is going, right? Day one, a couple red flags went up. At the start of my first shift, Karen, one of the cashiers, informed me that I was brave for working in the kitchen, and that when she'd worked back there a few summers ago, she'd wanted to kill them all. That's red flag number 1. I laughed off her comment and went on about my training. I was being trained in by this guy named Gary who'd been working there for something like 10 years, I think. He was really friendly and chatted a bunch throughout the shift. 4 o'clock comes and shift change rolls around. I'm on my way out, but not before I meet Steven. Now, Steven is one of the older guys that worked there, but bless his heart, he was the only sensible one. He introduced himself, but then he pulled me off to the side to whisper something, and he said, and I quote, "Word to the wise, there's a lot of big perverts that work here, and the biggest one is wearing a blue shirt." Guess who was wearing a blue shirt? Gary. Well, now I know why he was so nice to me. That comment should have been enough to tell me I needed to get out of that place, but no, because I'm stupid. I put up with the pizza place for about 3 months, and in that time, I learned that my coworkers' warnings were not at all exaggerated. Several of the guys would make inappropriate jokes towards the girls, and I noticed pretty quickly that the girls who'd been there for a few years had learned to just kind of put up with it, either brushing it off completely or just coming back with a snarky response. But nobody seemed overly bothered by it. I was bothered by it. You need to understand, I don't have a backbone like a lot of these other girls did. I can't say no to someone, much less tell them they're making me uncomfortable. Regardless of the situation, I just kind of feel like I'm gonna offend someone. Anyway, one day me and one of the cashiers were rolling dough in the back with Gary. By the way, this cashier was still in high school. I don't remember the exact context of this situation, but this girl had said that she was on the itty bitty titty committee, to which Gary promptly replied, "Well, that's okay. Some girls like them small. I do." And you know what she said? Nothing. And you know what Gary did? He repeated himself as if she hadn't heard him being disgusting the first time. This guy was married with a 10-year-old daughter at home. So that happened, and over the next few weeks, Gary went on with his usual inappropriate jokes and comments. A while after that, I was helping one of the guys lift something heavy, and the oldest staff member came over. Now this guy was foreign, and he spoke very little English. But the first words I heard him say in English were, "She got the muscle, but she got the boobs too." I didn't know this guy could speak English before I heard him say that. Moving on, we got a lot of ground to cover here, guys. It's a few weeks before I decide to put in my notice, and I'm telling Steven about some of these comments Gary and the other guys have been making towards me. Now, to be clear, Steven isn't in a management position, but he was probably the only one there that I felt like I could trust and talk to. But for reasons of my own, I didn't feel comfortable going to management about the situation, and I know that management can't put a stop to what they don't know is going on, but given the amount of warnings I received and how frequently this seemed to happen to all of the girls that worked there, I think it's safe to say that they knew. So I was telling Steven about these comments that Gary had made about me, specifically one where he'd asked if I was getting a shower when I went home so he would know if he should come over or not. And needless to say, Steven was pissed, you know, like a normal person would be. He tried to encourage me to tell the manager, but like I said, I wasn't really comfortable with that. So instead he offered to talk to Gary himself if it got any worse. And I agreed. It got worse. So anyone who's ever worked in a restaurant before probably knows that the extra toppings are usually stored underneath the make line. Well, shortly after talking to Steven, I worked an opening shift with Gary and one of our other coworkers. And I was putting things under the make line when I felt Gary standing over me, making some questionable sounds. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw our other coworker on the other side of me laughing. I looked up and Gary was pretending I was giving him a blowjob. And I mean like hand out, hovering just above my head, hip movements, making sounds I never want to hear again, kind of pretending. So obviously after this, Steven and Gary had a nice little chat. And I will say the next day Gary did come and apologize to me and said that he wished he'd known he was making me uncomfortable. But that's beside the point. There is a line you do not cross, and you, Gary, had crossed it. Piece of advice, if you're 30 plus and making inappropriate comments to someone who's 25 and under, chances are you're probably making them uncomfortable. Obviously after that, I left the pizza place. I never did tell the managers what was going on, so this might sound hypocritical of me to say, but if you're working somewhere and being sexually harassed, or anywhere for that matter, please, please tell someone. There is no good reason for you to put up with it, and you deserve so much better than that. What bothered me most about the whole situation was that the other girls had seemed used to it. It was just part of the job to them now, and that is so not okay. Girls and guys alike can experience sexual harassment, and girls and guys alike can be afraid to come forward. I get it, I was afraid to come forward too, but it wasn't until after leaving there that I finally realized if I had said something, the next girl to get stuck working in the kitchen might not have had to go through what I went through. Had I said something, maybe some of the other girls would have too, and they wouldn't have to just put up with it anymore. Coming forward about a situation like this can be scary, but it has to start with one person. If we're all too afraid to come forward, no one ever will, and nothing will ever change. On a side note, this script turned out to be like 4 pages long, and I never realized how angry I still was about the whole experience, so don't be like me. Please say something about it. Also, just to clarify, the pizza place isn't the real name of this shop, and everyone's names have been changed because I'm still a nice person and want to protect their identities. So if you're watching this and used to work with me there and you're mad about this video, you were probably part of the problem. That's it for this video, Roses. My next video is going to be a little more lighthearted to balance out with this one, and my last one, I think I'm going to be reacting to old stories I wrote, so that should be pretty funny. Make sure to hit the bell icon to get a notification when that gets posted. If you have ever had an experience like this and you feel like sharing it, please let me know in the comments below. I do read them and I will reply to you. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys sometime next week. My smiles are really creepy, aren't they? I feel like they come off as really creepy, and it never occurs to me until after I do it. I hate smiling. I'm not a smiley person. Excuse me.